void we know so well. Oh, horror, fantasy, the stories we tell. Sci-fi dreams where the stars collapse. Comic books stacked high in gaps. Mike and Tom, they light the flame. The first, the last, the Nerdom name. Voices sharp like the edge of time. Diving deep in a world sublime.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the First, the Last, the Nerdom, the podcast where pop culture gets personal and nerdom knows no bounds. This week, we're wrapping up our movies that end in world theme with something a little different, the offbeat. Cult favorite coming-of-age film from 2001, Ghost World. Based on the graphic novel by Daniel Clowes and directed by Terry Zwigoff, Ghost World is a sharp, strange, and deeply resonant look at teenage alienation, fading friendships, and the search for identity in a world that feels increasingly phony. It stars Thora Birch as the disaffected Enid and Scarlett Johansson as her quieter counterpart, Rebecca, two best friends navigating life after high school and slowly drifting apart in the process. Oh, and then there's Steve Buscemi as the awkward record-collecting loner Seymour, who somehow becomes the emotional center of the film in a way only Steve Buscemi can. It's not a big-budget spectacle or a dystopian apocalypse, but make no mistake, Ghost World is its own kind of end-of-the-world story. It's the end of adolescence, the end of certainty, the beginning of something unknown. So today we're diving into the film's dry wit, its haunting melancholy, its comic book roots, and why this quiet little movie has stayed so weirdly powerful for more than 2 decades. Grab your zine, avoid the art school kids, and get ready to say goodbye to the old world. It's time for Ghost World.
Hi, Tom.
Hey, couldn't hear anything. Hopefully it played on.
Yeah, I think it did. But yeah,
Right.
that's the Ghost World we're rolling into. To
Mhm.
end the last in our series of World.
Yeah.
In the title, I wanted to throw it to you for a second to I guess do the honors if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, no worries. Yeah, so we're the first, the last Nerdom. This is our channel. Like I said, we've been doing themes this month. Closing out May, we're doing the movies that end in world, and we did Waterworld, War of the Worlds, and we also did Westworld to kick it off, and we're wrapping it up with Ghost World. So a movie oddly fitting for us. It's sort of kind of a love letter to nerds, and in our channel we cover everything from horror to sci-fi to comics and everything in between. And I'm also promote us on Reddit and our social medias. Reddit at FirstLastNerdom. I find a subreddit that might have us and promote us there. You can keep up with all of the latest stuff by us on X under the same name, FirstLastNerdom. And I also went to see a movie, Bring Her Back, over the weekend for A24. Excellent horror movie. Something maybe you might cover in the future, but man, it's an intense, dark, very dark horror movie by the people who brought us Talk to Me.
Oh man, that's that. Well, I saw your post and I saw your text to me, and I was like, I gotta see this if I can. But I would love to cover it for sure. I'm also on X. Should you want to have a conversation with me and Tom at ApeIt.Ink on X. Again, I am also on co-host on America's Talk Show Monday through Friday, 2 times a day, the morning meeting and the late show. You can catch a lot of us there. Just a fun free-for-all. One of these days they'll suck time into it. We'll see. But also long-form content, ApeIt.Ink. I'm there as well for long-form content, etc., for things that are more serious or whatever that have nothing to do with the nerdom. But as always, we are here on YouTube to hopefully find these things that you can go back and take back and watch. And I believe Tom is cracking the. You're doing
inaugural monster.
the
But yeah,
boomer juice. But this week we have Ghost World, and you had given the audience quite a few hints. And they got, I was, you know, if you would normally like look at it, you would say, well, Scott Pilgrim in the World or whatever. But like,
yeah, versus the world. We've done that before. Yeah, someone made a very astute guess at that, and I thought that was great. But but yeah, if you hadn't seen our episode on that, and we did it a while back, definitely check that out. But yeah, this is a movie. I also was had toyed with the idea of movies based on comic books that don't seem to be based on comic books, or I can't believe that's a comic book, you know. Which this one is definitely based off of a comic book by Dan Clowes. It actually first appeared in the 8-Ball comic book. I gave you the links to Daniel Clowes's books on Fantagraphics. Back in the day, I'd say during the 90s, Fantagraphics was if you were into indie comics, you were into Fantagraphics. They brought you Peter Bagg with his Hate comic book, and Daniel Clowes with Ghost World and 8-Ball. It was Ghost World was first serialized in 8-Ball, which was sort of a kind of like a anthology of different interesting characters and stories that Daniel put together. I love the Daniel's art style. It's very you probably have seen it before in various places. His art's very iconic. You kind of know as soon as you see it. But yeah, he's a little bit on the weird side, but he likes weird and just weird people in general. He's just kind of fascinated by the odder side of life, and Ghost World is sort of a celebration of that in its various forms.
Yeah, I had no idea about this film before you brought it up. So I definitely want to go back and read the comics. But the essentially it is a generational kind of type film, right? So like you're kind of slotting into a certain kind of generation. It's very familiar to me and you. And like how their slice of life, so to speak, how they respond to it, and like everything's fake, nothing's real, you know, like just this the currency of their realm when you meet these characters are like very much adolescent, kind of sort of teen, whatever, kind of blends the thing there, but this thing called sincerity and integrity is kind of a laughed at concept. So it's very it's such a cool, this is where had we not covered these things and all the crazy wild epic wacky journey that we've had together, you have Harvey Picard and like just the awkwardness of life. I don't know, like, not to get too art house about it, but like this has so many relatable points, even if you're not a girl and you're whatever, and like these like Daria kind of vibe, whatever, you can still kind of feel something with these characters that is very unique to comic book, in my opinion, because like if you have to break these things down on screen, you have to be either you get it or you don't. So I don't know how this overall thing relates to the broader world, aside from like a few notes that I made on the side. But this is actually pretty cool. Honestly, it's kind of like Bomb versus like what we get today, like, which is just like so much more, I don't know, cutter, whatever. Like there is just so much more like relatableness here, no matter how you kind of come at it, whether you're boy or girl or whatever. Anyways, thank you for finding this, Tom. Like, this is like one of my newer favorites. Like, it's not like the top 5 or whatever, but it's it's up there. Like this is like what I love, finding these wonderful stories and movies like this, like that just relate. I don't know, like it's it's really cool. It is totally a 2000 movie though, like for sure. But
Yeah, and it's very steeped, even though it's not about comics. It's very steeped in comic books. The director Terry Zwigoff, he was a documentarian before. This is his first actual feature film. He'd previously done the feature length R. Crumb, which goes over the the '60s comic book artist, underground comic artist R. Crumb, which I saw. It was I think either presented or produced by David Lynch. So if you really enjoy Ghost World, you might want to check out R. Crumb as well. They're sort of like a good pairing of movies. So I saw R. Crumb and had read Daniel Clowes's comic books, and I was very excited about this movie coming out because it hit right in my zone. I was like, okay, well, it's being done by a guy that's really into comic books, and I knew it was in good hands. And in fact, Daniel Clowes is very involved in the making of this movie. He was on set every day, so it was very much a brainchild between Terry and Daniel. And from interviews, both Scarlett Johansson and Thora Birch, they both said that even though the Enid and Rebecca are both female characters, Terry and Daniel were very much Enid and and Rebecca. They sort of kind of exhibited those characteristics of those. Terry would be the Enid Thor Birch character, and Daniel was very much the Rebecca character.
I could easily see that, like with kind of just getting a little bit background from the story for sure.
Yeah, and it's unique in that most movies about nerds, usually it's guy nerds. This is one of those very few movies where the girl nerd is sort of explored, and
Right.
very universal. I'm sure we've all known an Enid in our life, but yeah, she this character sort of become like a bunch of young ladies wanted to imitate this character once this movie came out, because she does have a certain style to her, very much, and she doesn't know exactly who she is, but she's trying to find herself within this movie.
Well, this kind of reminds me of this film is a like you mentioned, like it is kind of like further down and out a little bit. It's the Rosetta Stone for understanding alienation a little bit, from being, like you said, like a nerd, like you're just you're the nerd, you're the spaz, you're the picked on, like that. There's like this beautiful aspect of it that comes through with such authenticity that you can't help but like watch, right? Because it's relatable. It is just generally relatable, and that's why like these kind of comic books take me by surprise. Like, and this is back like when comic books couldn't be art or blah 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 blah. Like, well, several years later, but that absolutely can be art. like how else? Like the whole point of like carrying a story, dialogue, a plot, or whatever is comic book related or not, it still counts. Like I'm sorry you don't like Batman or Superman or Spider-Man, but like like that is fundamentally art, and thank God we have it. But they're so adorable too, and there's a little bit of flirtatiousness with the audience too, but like, obviously, like if your characters are nicer looking, they're going to be a little bit more appealable. So there's that too, right? But versus like having like the like Edward Gear or something, truly push the point home. But even still, it would probably actually work better. Actually, now I think about it. But anyway, I interrupted you.
No, yeah, but yeah, so it's basically the story about these two girls. with their friendship, they're both graduating from high school at the start, and that graduation is seen as something else. There's a lot of this movie. It takes a lot of things you're familiar with, like from movies, like a graduation, high school graduation, and kind of tweaks it and sees it in a different way than other movies. It says maybe the same things that those other movies have said, but it says it with the style and a little twist to it that makes it a little bit unique and of its own. You kind of see these two girls are sort of in this world together. They're kind of isolated, but they have this whole world around them that they live in. They live and breathe it and inhabit it in a way that makes it their own. It's you can just tell by their expressions exactly what they're thinking through the whole graduation, and you instantly know these characters. You know who they are. You want to know more about them, but you have a very good sense from the start of who they are.
Yeah, they are the disaffected youth that grows to become well, something else. But
Yeah,
but
and they don't understand their impact on the world
right,
yet.
right.
They still see it as this observable thing that they can detach themselves from, and
Right.
through the
They
course of the
deny.
movie, yeah.
Well, the core of the movie is they deny reality. I mean, that's what the corner of what they start at, like until and I won't spoil it.
Yes, but yeah, there and I think when they originally were going to do the movie, they had eyes on Christina Ricci as the Enid
Really?
character, and she ended up turning it down, saying, "I've already played this character before. I don't want to do it." And Thora, she wanted to play Enid, and they wanted her as the Rebecca role, and and she didn't want to do that. She definitely wanted to play Enid, and when Christina dropped out, she sort of cut her hair and put on those glasses, and they go, okay, yeah, you're Enid. So, and with Scarlett Johansson, they picked her. The Daniel Clowes, the artist writer of the comic book, he saw her done up like the character, and he said, "Yep, it's like I drew you. You're that character." So,
Well,
and she was a young 15, so there was a bit of an age difference between her and Thora, but you don't see it on the screen. They're kind of worried that Scarlett would kind of play young, but she actually kind of seems older in a lot of sense with the way she acts than the Enid character. She has that sort of weight to her.
no, I agree. Well, and we are classic followers of Scarlett, like with the under the skin and whatnot. But yeah,
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 yes,
perfect.
she's her focus in the interview. She says she always wants to play an interesting character. So an interesting story with an interesting character, and I think from her her role choices that really kind of plays off quite well.
Yeah, I wouldn't say this was like perfect casting, but I would say that it was very, very good balanced casting for what we got. Like
Hmm.
for the most part, everything worked in part to keep you, like yeah, like again, I am drawn to the world building and like the atmosphere that you're pulled into. And I was a sucker because like this pulled me in, like from beginning to the middle, I mean, it worked. like you believe, you get to understand. Well, I don't know that I can do it justice, but like what out of curiosity, what was the budget for this initially? Like, and how did
I'm
it
not.
do in the box office?
I'm not sure. I think this is one of them we were talking about. Yeah, we both. I lived in St. Louis for a time,
Oh,
and
right.
this was one of those Tivoli movies that I went to. It was played definitely at the art house, but but yeah, I think it did pretty well. But yeah, one of the funny stories in the commentary, Terry Zwigoff, he met with like some of the financiers of the movie, and where they were asking him, "Can you pull off a feature film?" And he's like, "I don't know. This is my first one. I
We'll
have no
find
idea."
out.
Yeah, yeah, and it's as one of his executive producers, she was like, "No, you don't tell him that. You don't tell him you don't know." So she had a second interview with them, and yeah, he was, the next one. He goes, "Oh yeah, I can do it. I can do it." Because it's kind of odd. You're saying this to the same people you originally said. I don't know, and they bought it. Good for them.
Right.
So, but no, it's sort of like it's interesting kind of time capsule, because this is sort of like a bridging the gap between the 90s and the 2000s. It came out in 2001, and I really was kind of taken with the scene with the pseudo blockbuster. A lot of it was dealing with a character played by Steve Buscemi, Seymour, who's kind of in love with this forgotten media records of artists that no one knows at the time. And
Sure,
this is sort of like a kind of a lost media as well. It's like a time before cell phones. Like, it captures the whole blockbuster thing. At one point, they went to the sort of like a indie comics zine, fanzine store that unfortunately probably doesn't exist anymore. It just wasn't a very interesting kind of transitional time for us, where we're going from a lot of physical media to to digital, then switching over to cell phones. And a lot of what happens in this movie wouldn't happen nowadays, because the kids would be so engrossed in their phones they wouldn't have the time to see the Satanist sitting in the corner.
Right. It would be like this on the screen, like, but with like glowing screen.
Exactly.
Space, yeah. No. This also holds value with people our age, if not a little bit older, for time frame. And not this was not a 1-to-1 for me going back 20 years. I'm not going to claim that. But there are aspects there of, if you lived back then, you had this kind of expectation of flow. And life was a lot slower back then.
Absolutely. And the kids found ways. It was the time of the internet, but it was still in its infancy. So people were hooked up all the time, and you kind of had to find
24/7,
those things. Yeah, you kind of found the things that made you unique. It starts off sort of with that wonderful Indian song for, I guess, a Bollywood movie, where she's kind of dancing and playing that from some VHS that she bought off of some guy, and it's that kind of rides the line of how what makes you unique. Are you doing it just to be unique, or is this something you're really into? And there's a point where she decides she's going to be a 70s punk girl, and the guy that she's got the videotape from, which kind of speaks from a point of authority in this underground world,
right?
Where he kind of riffs and badmouths her new look, her punk look, calling out for its authenticity, and it's very important to be authentic at that time and age,
Thora, like her, she did such a good job. Like it is kind of a garage or underground film. Like, I don't know, poor terminology around it, but I think you know what I mean. Like she she can do the distracted teenager, disaffected, to be, and then and then become like sympathetic. and also insufferable and annoying. Like
Yeah.
they both play these things. Scarlett gets away with it a little bit more because, well, she's Scarlett Johansson, but it still shows like how each of them brings their own unique way to the roles that adds to it, that you believe them. You also have like this like Steve Buscemi, like all of like David Cross and Bob Balaban, I think. Like those are the performers who know what to give to an independent film. Because it's not like a standard. This would not work if it were like a corporate cookie cutter whatever. Like this is like that's kind of like at the top of the show. That's what I was saying. Like this would never have worked, in a modern way, because like each, for better for worse, like each character lives. They feel very real, authentic, like you said, like lived in. I don't know, like you wouldn't doubt them if you walked into their house and saw their their humanness or whatever, especially Steve Buscemi, which always like kind of begs that feel. But they surprisingly, they don't overpower the role either, like that's the other thing too. Like I said, like it's about balance. They're not perfectly cast, they're just very well balanced. And nobody tried to like showboat. I'll just put it that way. Like where you could get easily, this could have absolutely went bonkers in a not a good direction.
Yeah, it's definitely a comedy, but it doesn't never goes overboard in any of those aspects. It's always very very real to the characters, and I think it's those characters living in their world. They're not showing off, they're just being who they are, and that's where the comedy and sometimes the tragedy kind of lies. And I don't think the studio kind of understood what movie they were making. They kind of expected, they thought they would get a bunch of pop songs to put it throughout the movie, and that's not what this movie is. And I think they said that they did one of the screenings of the movie to try to prove to the filmmakers that it wasn't working. But when they actually, talked to the audience afterwards, it did work. The people that get it. So obviously there's some people that aren't going to get this movie. It's not going to be for them. But those that do get it definitely understand it, and it taps into a world that they know very personally.
This is kind of like it feels like related to like the Sandra Bernhardt, late 90s going into the 2000s, kind of like that Gina Garofalo, like that that other kind of off character thing that Hollywood kind of glommed onto for a minute. I didn't come prepared, but like there's that feeling though that like this is more cohesive than it should be. Like but it works. Like for a comic book movie, like I find myself strangely like I didn't get bored. I never got bored. Like that was like just like when I was kind of like getting whatever, I would be pulled into the next scene, and it was compelling. Like these characters, like they have some sorting out to do.
Yeah, and oddly enough, it kind of reminds me a little bit of another movie that we covered, Under the Silver Lake, with that kind of underground aspect to it.
Really,
with he that character was obsessed with those fanzines, those underground comics, and there's a point where he goes to this place that sells those underground magazines and stuff, and very reminiscent of the scene of obviously this in this movie it's played for laughs, and the other movie it's obviously kind of a mystery story. It's not at times it's funny as well, but there's sort of a desperation in that movie that this movie doesn't have. There is a sort of kind of I guess some growing pains, because the character Rebecca is kind of growing away from her friend. She's graduated, she wants to move on, she wants to do what most people want to do, is get a job, start getting their life in order,
Right.
get apartment. She has sort of more of those traditional values
Well,
that Enid is still trying to rebel against.
yeah, well, it's funny you say that, because under the lake, to me, there was a clock on the screen ticking. Right, you didn't quite know what, but you felt that through the main character and the pacing and all the things. Like everything was compressed, and like something's under pressure. Like these guys, like there's that pressure, but they're just kind of like, "Ugh, whatever."
Yeah. I'll worry about that tomorrow. Yeah, yeah. There's both Enid and the character from the Under the Silver Lake. They're both
Yeah.
they're both lost and trying to find who are still trying to find who they are and find their life path. And yeah, and there's these characters like the guy that's eternally waiting for the bus. He has a goal in life. He has a mission, even though he may be a little crazy. He does have and yeah. So, but Enid sees all these characters in her world as being constant, but they're only constant for that brief time period. What she's experiencing will change, and these people will go on and do other things. The poor Josh, who's the at the torment of Enid and Rebecca, played by the Brad Renfro, I think. And the whole convenience store, the Sidewinder, is very, very interesting with this guy.
Very interesting clerks, kind of, I don't know, opposite or whatever, or whatever. Yeah, very interesting, unique take.
They said that the sunburn was very much real. That the guy got himself a sunburn and did the haircut himself. So
I would believe
so
that.
he that was pretty much his creation there. They just let him do his thing.
Right.
But yeah, it's and a lot of 7-Up in this movie. They don't have a lot of paid advertisements, but 7-Up was very prominent throughout this movie. I don't know if that paid off for them or not, but
well, 7-Up is the drink of the day in 2025, so yeah, sure.
But yeah, so Enid, she becomes obsessed with Seymour, who's sort of like he's sort of like a caricature, one of her drawings that she can make fun of. But yeah. So, but she gets to know him, and she realizes that they're very similar in a lot of ways, and that she makes this real connection with him, and it's one of those relationships where she keeps trying to define it in her head, and because at first she wants to be a matchmaker for him, but and that starts to pay off, that he gets a girlfriend, and she realizes, no, well, maybe that's not what I want, and there's sort of like that inconsistency, and she's trying to figure out her life by at the same time messing with this other guy's life, and spoiler alert, he ends up in therapy by the end of it, but
and not even knowing adulthood or reality or any of those things, like just kind of knocking upon the thing, like, because you're a first timer.
Yeah. Yeah,
that just goes to the misery of it. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah. So it's a friendship that shouldn't work, but it does work. There's a lot of interesting characters in this movie. Josh is so yeah. In another movie, he would probably be like the main character, But in this movie, he's very much the sad sack kind of kid that they mess with. And then there's Enid. She felt art, which is kind of surprising, because she seems to be bit of an artist, but you can kind of see where she might have done that because she probably just kind of blew it off because she knew it was probably a class that she thought she knew more about than the teacher. So it was one of those things where she just didn't show up or just didn't perform, and so she has to take a summer school class of art, which we get introduced to Ileana Douglas, I think is her name, as the art teacher. And I think we've all know a character like this lady too, that's very much into spirituality, and she shows them a self-produced film that you can see that she's maybe the struggling artist, performance artist, and she shows them her film Mirror Father Mirror, which just she just repeats those lines through a couple of minute film. You can tell that she's probably shown this to everybody that she meets, this is who I am, and people are more confused than if she didn't show that.
Who the fuck is this bad? Well, it just goes to like underdog. You think they're kind of like a little bit arrogant, and then all of a sudden they get cut down, and then like it's like nope, that's comic book.
Yeah. And there's a lot of interesting characters in this movie. Characters that you actually would get that are interesting enough to have their own film made about them, like that David Cross character. He was kind of out there and was interesting in his own right. And there's they go to a authentic 50s style diner, and their waiter is Weird Al, that they named because his name's Alan, and they decide that he looks like Weird Al, so they name him Weird Al. And that guy's definitely a character in of himself. I would watch a whole movie about that guy,
Right.
And there's just so much in this movie that like I said, it's just so rich with characters that
nobody came to the show to overshadow anybody, right? Like that's why I say again, a very good balanced cast, or at least people that are very aware of like what this is and what they're doing, which you do not get today. Just put that way. Like they could not do this. Like they could do this on Apple TV probably, like maybe, but like not on the main ones. But anyway.
I don't know if they've got a 4K of it out, but I did do the Criterion Blu-ray, which
the Criterion. I was waiting for you to mention that.
Yeah, and the cover's drawn by Daniel Clowes, so the creator of the comic book, and it comes with let's see, that's a great drawing of Steve Buscemi down at the bottom there. But yeah, the movie comes with sort of Criterion usually has like a little booklet with articles and stuff in the essays, but this also comes with a little 8-ball mini comic, so it has a little bit, just a teaser of the comic book there, so if you get that, you can very, very unique. And I like Ghost World. The whole comic book is done in those 3 tones of I guess that's blue, kind of bluish green, black and white. But yeah, definitely if you're into indie comics, it's definitely worth checking out if you haven't already checked out 8-Ball. That, like I said, it's been around since, I guess he started it in the late 80s and through the 90s. So I was actually collected it while it was still coming out. So yeah, I thought I was cool because I knew who 8-Ball was.
That is cool. Yeah. No, I really like this one. It's like one of those things that like where you want to watch it again, over time, like not like back to back, but like this is like one of those things that is like a sleeper, right? So like you can I'll watch it again in 6 months and like I'll love it even more. Like
Yeah.
Sleeping Beauty a little bit.
Yeah, it had been a few years since I'd watched it, and yeah, it's like I know pretty much all of the movie, but yeah, it's just kind of fun to get back into that world. It's good to maybe wait long enough to where you've kind of forgotten a few things, so that it's still that you get that sense of discovery through that through the process, and but there's he did do there's an as far as there's another movie kind of based on Dan Clowes' stuff called I think the Art School Confidential, which isn't quite as good as this movie, but yeah, that's worth checking out if you want to some more stuff in that world. But yeah, definitely if you like this movie, definitely check out Art Crumb, the documentary that Terry Zwigoff did. But yeah, just you could get a real good sense of the creative nature of that world. That at Art School Confidential doesn't have the same kind of presence of characters. It's okay, so it was done by Terry Zwigoff and Daniel Clowes as well. So yeah, definitely check that out. It's not as like I said, it doesn't have the same impact as Ghost World, but definitely worth checking out as well.
I think this works because it doesn't like to fit into a box, right? Like, yeah, it's a
Right.
comedy, but it's also like absurd, right? Like you
And
have like a complex mix of things that are going on, like that are. But the thing though, like I fall back to this, like there's balance between all these things because it works, right? So does it go too overboard on one side? It still remains funny and relatable, I think. But I was just gonna say,
it kind of it's interesting in that the characters are trying to create a world for themselves, kind of a caricature of real life, but real life kind of comes in and kind of forces itself upon these characters, so that every time that Enid thinks she's got a grasp of the world and has kind of put it in a box, the the box kind of expands or changes in a way that she doesn't want. Like her dad has kind of reignited a relationship with a person that to her is a monster, but everything we see about her, and it's played by Terry Garr, so Terry Garr is obviously automatically the audience is on her side, obviously, because she's Terry Garr. But yeah, you don't see the monster that Enid has made this woman into, so that when it ends, the movie kind of ends kind of ambiguously. It's not a clear happy ending. It's not a clear tragedy of an ending. You have a kind of trepidation for the character as far as you know that her misery isn't over yet, and the misery for a lot of these characters aren't over yet. But they have definitely kind of had their different moments, and you don't know if they're on the upswing yet or if it's still in the decline.
Yeah, I would say it goes in that vein of like you don't know where to have you see empathy, right? Like for the character, what she's going through, but at the same time, it's like kind of like, well, the the confusing nature of like how it goes, like it's also kind of like a playback on the thing of like, well, I mean, you'll get there. It's kind of the point of like there's like this you don't want to have there's unease, right? But you still have like a backplate of like, well, I mean, get used to being uncomfortable, I guess. I don't know, like
yeah, and there's
the positive kind of flow from it, because like you shouldn't be comfortable, right? You should be a little bit agitated, or you should be like younger. Well, that's kind of the whole that's the obvious plus sign on the thing. Like you're younger and you're figuring it out, and you're you're figuring out your first losses, like
Yeah.
what it is, really. I mean,
Yeah, and there's there's this relationship that should be off-putting between Seymour and Enid, maybe told in a different story. Would there would be all these questions about power balance and because there's obviously an age difference between the two, but Seymour is so lost and clueless that there isn't that power. It's more swing towards Enid because she seems to be the one in control, but during this movie, but is she? Is this sort of like this false confidence that she has, and maybe doesn't have the emotional backbone that she's portraying on screen. That she's oftentimes you could call her an asshole, especially with the way she treats people. There's she has kind of an attempt at a job at the movie theater, and she kind of very forcefully decides that she isn't going to change one iota to do this job, and her personality kind of clashes with the job. So yeah, there's yeah, very everybody's sort of unique in their own way in this movie, and so some of the subjects that they kind of tell in this would definitely play off differently in a different movie. But you really have to take this movie on its own and kind of weigh the characters in the way that they're presented, and it just kind of it's very fascinating because if I told you what the story was about, you'd have all these preconceived ideas of what to expect, and this movie kind of goes in directions that are very unexpected but make sense for these characters.
right? Yeah, no, I would encourage. I think this is like this is actually a good family viewing one. Like, so if you're a dad and a son, or a mom and a daughter, you should probably watch this. Like, I think it could be very interesting and spark some conversations. Like, but that's kind of that's the broader point. Like, this makes you think. Like, I think whether you like it or not, you're you're kind of like with her, or whether you're her fan or not,
Yeah.
like, or whatever your axe to grind, because there's many, because all the independent characters kind of cut one way, right?
Yeah.
They cut very annoying. Like, there is no like, they're their own person, but like, they're so relatable to situations and scenes that we've been in before. But anyway, but that's
Yeah.
maybe too abstract for this point, but I don't want to get too wild.
Yeah, and it's one of those movies that I think everybody kind of got. The people that they hired to be in this movie, they understood the movie and what it was trying to do. Like the art school teacher, she the Ileana Douglas, she came on. She knew what her character was. She did her haircut the way that she did in the movie, and she kind of showed up with that whole look and persona ready to go. And they said that Terry, the way he kind of directs, was like he was a sort of a forceful director with his own ideas. A lot of times they would ask them, what do you think? Or they come to him with an idea. How about we do this? He goes, I don't know, let's try it. He's very malleable as far as so I think with any movie, it's kind of a collaboration, and it's the director kind of either steers the ship or kind of keeps chaos under control. Sometimes certain directors have an ironclad vision of what they want, and but this movie, it was sort of I think a true collaboration between Terry and Daniel.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say, you have different points of authority too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have the teacher, the teacher's performance, and then you have the administrations, and then you have Enid, trying to find this grappling hook of life that
Mhm.
you can probably tell she's going to have many of these struggles, but this is the first one
Yeah.
that she kind of has to like weave into her own, her own success, or whatever. But what
Yeah, and I think it's one of those movies that are interesting because depending on where you're at in life, you're either going to kind of relate to the younger set of the characters or the older.
It's true.
I saw this. I originally saw this movie in my 30s, so not young like the girls in it, but not quite older like the Buscemi character. So it's sort of like in between, and I could relate to portions of both characters. Although as you age older, you start relating more and more with Seymour and his struggles with life, but yeah, it's one of those movies that where it's easy to relate to all the
Well,
characters
it's just so
within the
easy.
movie.
It's very, very. I don't know that there's too many other like comic book films that you could just find yourself in. Like
Mhm.
there's one more, but it's off the books. We haven't covered it or talked about it, but like we hopefully one day we will.
Mhm.
Like when we kind of touch the real life side of life, for
Mhm.
our characters that we love and like. But yeah, again, this is just like it just finds a way to for you to like it. I don't know how to put that, but like, and then you see like what year it was made, and you're like, I'm in. Like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I'm in. Rick and Morty theme, right?
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah. And Terry Zwigoff, he has sort of his own kind of vision of it, and he had actually kind of went to I guess to get an understanding of Thora Birch. He went to a screening of American Beauty, which he'd just finished before going towards this movie. And he said he's not a good judge of movies because he said he watched the movie and then it's okay. And then he was leaving, and this lady was talking to her date, saying, "This is the best movie of my life," and and people were very much buzzing about that movie, and he was like, it is what it is. But yeah, so
Right.
yeah, there's people that there's movies that click with various people, and those people where this movie clicks with them are my people, I think. Those are the weird people out there that have that they look for the weird in the world, and are
Yep.
very much engaged with it, and these some of these characters may be a little bit more weird than I am, but yeah, I can see their worldview,
Indeed.
and yeah, and it's one of those movies that this kind of there's like this people being weird. There's like a whole a rich tapestry of weirdness within that, and this movie does a very good job of kind of looking at the slices of life of various weird people, and kind of giving each of them their kind of own kind of spotlight. Like Seymour has a roommate that like I said, he's very interesting, based off of I believe someone that either Terry or Daniel knows personally. They were having a hard time casting that role, and in fact they even brought the guy that the character was originally based on out to maybe see about him being in the movie as that character, but they realized that they needed an actor, so they ended up with the guy that they got, and they said that he did an amazing job of kind of capturing that.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's a movie obsessed with being authentic to its own weird state of the world, and yeah, like I said, there's so many rich and interesting characters, like the Satanist, the possibly Satanist characters that they're obsessed with at the beginning of the movie is kind of interesting. They said that the lady that plays the female Satanist, they said that she didn't speak on set at all. That she was a bit strange. So, and I think the Satanist guy they originally had got to do it didn't show up or something, so they had the guy. He normally has a full head of hair. They had him shaved down and be the Satanist guy. They said he did quite a good job.
Right. Well,
And
this
that's.
is. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, if you want to read the comic book Ghost World, it's more there's that scene is definitely from the comic book, but there's not a clear plot to the movie to the comic book. It's more kind of vignettes with these characters, and so the movie actually really does kind of develop its own its own kind of plot, but it stays true to the characters. So don't expect it to be 1-to-1 for the comic book, but it definitely, you do see where the movie was inspired by.
Awesome. Any other high points?
No, I think that's but yeah, definitely check out the comic books. Check out Arcrum, that the documentary. I think you might enjoy those. But yeah, this is one of those comic books movies where the comic book isn't immediate, but once you understand that the world it comes from, it just makes sense. Yeah,
absolutely.
But yeah, I've always kind of wanted to cover this because I'm a huge fan of Daniel Clowes. He does have stuff outside Eightball and Ghost World. So I haven't read everything, but everything I have been exposed to has been very good. So yeah, he's one of those guys that's very fascinating. He's sort of his own kind of unique person, and his comic books are very unique in their own kind of a look on life. So if you like Ghost World, the movie, more than likely you'll enjoy the comic books. There's one called Like Velvet, Cast in Iron, which is very interesting. It's a very Lynchian in its approach to storytelling. That is actually he actually recorded a soundtrack. One of the I will say this. I was very much taken with the various music in this movie, and did buy the I bought the soundtrack, and I would play that constantly because it's got a whole lot of different flavors of different music in it. So yeah, if you're a lover of music and different kind of sounding music, this is definitely worth checking out for that as well.
Awesome. Well, as always, we are the First Last Nerdom, and we are primarily on YouTube. You can also find us on X at their end. But I've been Mike.
And I'm Tom. And we'll see you at the movies.
Let's go out to the movies.